Sarah had always believed she knew her husband, Tom. After 5 years of marriage, she thought they shared a solid partnership, both working hard to build their lives together. Sarah, a freelance graphic designer, often worked from home, while Tom worked as a marketing executive. But over the past year, Tom had begun to change. He became distant, emotionally unavailable, and spent more time out of the house, giving vague excuses about late meetings or office events. Whenever Sarah questioned him, Tom was quick to shut her down. He'd tell her she was overthinking things or being paranoid, dismissing her concerns with a smug smile. "You've got too much time on your hands, Sarah. You should focus on your work instead of obsessing over me," he'd say, making her feel guilty for even suspecting him. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Every time their neighbor, Amanda, came over, Sarah noticed the way Tom's eyes lingered on her a little too long. Amanda, the glamorous real estate agent next door, seemed to know it too. She would laugh a little too loudly at Tom's jokes, touch his arm lightly during conversations, and show up unannounced when Sarah wasn't home. One day, Sarah saw something that made her stomach churn, a message from Amanda on Tom's phone. It wasn't explicit, but it was enough to set alarm bells ringing. When she confronted him, Tom smirked and said, "Sarah, you're just being insecure. Amanda's our neighbor. That's all." He dismissed her concerns, gaslighting her into believing she was imagining things. But Sarah's instincts were screaming at her that something was terribly wrong. So, against her better judgment, she bought a hidden camera. She placed it in the living room, knowing that Tom and Amanda often spent time there when she wasn't around. She needed the truth, even if it destroyed her. That night, Sarah casually mentioned she had to run a quick errand and would be back in 5 minutes. Tom barely looked up from his phone as she left. Little did he know, she had parked her car just down the street, watching and waiting, her heart racing with anxiety. It didn't take long for Amanda to show up. Within minutes of Sarah's departure, Amanda was at the door, and Tom welcomed her in with a smile that made Sarah sick to her stomach. Sarah, watching the footage on her phone in real time, saw Amanda slide onto the couch next to Tom, her hand resting casually on his thigh as they laughed and talked. At first, their conversation seemed innocent enough, small talk about Amanda's work in real estate. But Sarah knew better. The way Amanda leaned in closer, the way Tom let her touch him, it was all too intimate for just neighbors. Then Amanda made her move. "You know, Tom," she said with a sly grin, "I've always wondered why you stay with Sarah. She's always so busy with her work, so caught up in her own world. You deserve better." Tom didn't even flinch. He didn't defend Sarah. Instead, he shrugged and said, "Sarah's just Sarah. She's obsessed with her work. She doesn't even notice me half the time." Sarah's heart shattered. Tom had always complained about her work, but to hear him belittle her like this, to Amanda of all people, it was unbearable. But Amanda wasn't done. "I'm sure the neighbors have noticed," Amanda whispered, "how you and I get along so well. I don't think anyone would be surprised if they knew. You and I were a better match than you and Sarah ever were." Tom chuckled softly as if mocking Sarah's entire existence. "You're probably right," he said, leaning back on the couch as Amanda inched closer. At this point, how would you feel if you were Sarah? Do you think Amanda is trying to destroy her marriage? Or has Tom already crossed the line long ago? Just as Amanda leaned in for a kiss, Sarah's world crumbled. Her fears had been confirmed. Tom was no longer just distant. He was actively betraying her. And he didn't seem to care. But what happened next made Sarah's blood run cold. Amanda pulled back slightly, a wicked smile on her face. "You know," she said, her voice dripping with malice, "the barbecue last year? That wasn't the first time, Tom. I've been waiting for you to leave Sarah for months." Tom smiled back, completely unconcerned. "Sarah's clueless. I don't think she'll ever figure it out. She's too busy with her career to even notice what's right under her nose." At that moment, Sarah realized this wasn't the first time Tom had betrayed her. Their affair had been going on for over a year, and everyone in the neighborhood had likely noticed their flirtation. Sarah was the last to know, humiliated not just by the affair, but by the fact that her husband had mocked her behind her back. As Amanda left the house, she said something that pushed Sarah over the edge. "I'll see you at the office tomorrow." Amanda winked. "You know how much I love our lunch dates." Lunch dates? Sarah felt a surge of rage. Tom had lied to her about his workday, using business lunches as a cover for their affair. After Amanda left, Tom sat on the couch, completely unaware that Sarah was watching. He picked up his phone and dialed Amanda. "We'll need to be more careful," he whispered. "Sarah's been acting suspicious, but don't worry, I've got her wrapped around my finger. What would you do now if you were Sarah? Would you confront him immediately, or would you wait for the perfect moment to expose everything?" Sarah was no longer heartbroken, she was furious. The humiliation, the betrayal, the gaslighting. Tom had manipulated her for years, made her feel small and paranoid, all while carrying on an affair right in front of her. That night, Sarah confronted him, but she didn't show him the footage immediately. Instead, she pretended to be clueless. "How was your day?" she asked sweetly, her voice trembling with barely suppressed rage. Tom, always the manipulator, smiled and said, "Busy, you know. Work's been crazy. I've got a big project coming up." Sarah knew he was lying. She let him go on for a few more minutes before she dropped the bomb. "I know about Amanda," she said coldly, watching as Tom's face turned white. He stammered, trying to backtrack, but Sarah cut him off. "I saw everything. I have it all on camera." Tom's demeanor changed immediately. He went from shocked to defensive. "You shouldn't have been spying on me, Sarah. If you hadn't been so insecure, none of this would have happened. You drove me to this." Gaslighting her again. Tom wasn't sorry for what he'd done. He was sorry he got caught. Sarah had heard enough. It was time for revenge. Sarah didn't just leave Tom. That would have been too easy. Instead, she planned the perfect public humiliation. Sarah knew Tom had a major work presentation coming up. A big meeting with all of his colleagues, clients, and even Amanda, who was handling the real estate for his company's expansion. It was the perfect opportunity to expose him. She waited until the day of his presentation. As Tom stood in front of the room, confidently pitching his marketing plan, Sarah sent a message to every client and colleague in the room. The message contained the video footage from the hidden camera, Tom's betrayal, his cruel words, and his affair with Amanda. Suddenly, phones around the room started buzzing. People looked down at their screens, eyes widening in shock. Tom noticed the shift in the room, but by then, it was too late. His entire professional reputation was destroyed in an instant. Amanda, sitting in the front row, paled as she saw the footage too. The room fell silent as people turned their eyes to Tom, judging him, disgusted by him. His career was over. But Sarah didn't stop there. She filed for divorce, taking everything. Their house, their savings. She left Tom with nothing. Amanda, of course, didn't stick around once Tom was penniless and publicly humiliated. She moved on to her next target, leaving Tom completely alone. Tom had lost everything: his wife, his job, his reputation, all because of his arrogance and betrayal. And Sarah? She moved on, stronger than ever, knowing she had given Tom exactly what he deserved. As for Amanda, she tried to carry on as if nothing had happened, but her reputation was tarnished too. The neighborhood knew what she had done, and no one trusted her anymore. Do you think Sarah's revenge was justified? What would you have done in her situation? Let us know in the comments below. Next time, we'll explore the story of a wife who took revenge in a way no one could have predicted. Next video, we'll explore the story of a wife who took revenge in a way no one could have predicted. If you enjoyed this story of revenge and betrayal, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a shocking story like this one.